All right, good evening and welcome to Business Today. It's Monday, 19th of September, 2022. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Williams and Akauchi on Sign Language. Let's ride along in Business Today. We kick-started off with road safety as the World Health Organization, through its safety and mobility representative, Dr. Nan Tran, has committed itself to supporting Uganda to bring an end to road crashes, ensuring that they work together with all those involved in stopping this vice. This happened at Parliament during an engagement with Dr. Nan Tran and the Parliament Forum on Road Safety. We have more of this report.
According to police, a total of 328 accidents occurred during the period of 2nd July to 9th July 2022, and out of these 62 accidents were fatal, 180 were serious and 86 were minor. 355 accident victims during this period, and out of these 89 people died and 266 sustained injuries. It is estimated that 3,600 lives are lost every year due to accidents. The situation in Uganda is worrying, which is why the Forum on Road Safety was formed to find a solution to this problem.
We have seen through the statistics that pedestrians have really been having a heavy toll because they constitute 40% of the fatalities and 25% of that serious injuries annually. So that's a very serious figure.
According to Honorable Kasolo Robert, the cost of treating accident victims alone is too high, and that it is evident that Uganda is losing many lives due to accidents, and therefore something needs to be done before the situation gets out of hand.
Last week when they appeared before the committee, that Uganda is losing 3,650 lives per year. Those are people who are dead. Now, when you look at those ones who are disabled, incapacitated in their homes, hospitals, and what have you, it's enormous. Then the cost involved to treat an accident patient is also a lot. Now, this is an area where government of Uganda has not yet put a lot of emphasis.
Honorable Alex Byarugaba says that Uganda has built roads, but most of which are impassable during the night. He gave an example of the Entebbe Express Highway, which he says it is very difficult to use this road during the night. The MP adds that the ministry needs to put infrastructures on such roads to make them safer for the road users.
I don't know, Works, whether you involve how much money is involved in road furniture. You work on a road like this Entebbe Express, very good road, but unusable at night. Yes.
Thank you for bringing that.
Unusable at night. Very beautiful road. Why don't you think about that, Minister of Works, please? Your beautiful road can only be used during the day. At night, you will not use it, and you know why.
Giving his remarks, Dr. Nan Tran has assured the MPs of the World Health Organization support to this cause.
One of the things that we would like to explore with all of you is how can we work together in terms of the international organizations that I represent, but also the civil society organizations that are present here to support you in this effort. And we do see a couple of clear action points that we think align with what you are already doing. As Honorable Ruhunda has mentioned, the WHO supports a global network of legislators for road safety.
The legislators who are first-hand victims of these road crashes also have this to say.
I got an accident because of a pothole that was in the middle of the road. As a young lady was trying to dodge it, she crashed me, went up in the air, and coming down, my leg was off. I was so close to a hospital. That's Nagulu Hospital. But it took someone 2 hours to pick me. I'd lost blood.
The brother who took over my dad was involved in a fatal accident and he lost half of his scalp. It took a toll on me to get 64 million which I didn't have at all. And it ended in court. Each time I see a road accident case, road safety, I am #1 advocate.
We have a spouse who lost ears because of a road accident, a motorcycle. If just fell out of a motorcycle. It was as if it was a joke, but up to today, he doesn't have ears. Now, my children have to shout every time because their father cannot listen well.
As many Ugandans continue to lose their lives due to road accidents, stakeholders have joined hands, including the World Health Organization, to find a solution to these many crashes on the Ugandan roads. Samla Hanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now the European Union government has passed an emergency resolution announcing the consequences of oil mega projects in Uganda and Tanzania from a multinational company, Total Energies. That is the Telenga project and the East African crude oil pipeline project. This resolution referred to human rights violation, acts of intimidation, judicial harassment, immense environmental impact and social environment. But how substantial is this resolution? Rona Nahabwe with more.
The question of whether European Union decision stretches from colonialism and its tendencies, or if it actually holds water to what is being proposed, is unclear. Suspending Total Energies for a year from continuing the EACOP is a U-turn for us to extract our resources, and it holds the ongoing investment of the fossil fuels in Uganda. The 1,443 kilometers long EACOP, which when completed will be the longest heated crude oil pipeline in the world compared to the others showed below. If an environmental impact assessment was carried out, how can such external voices be minimized? Does this relate with the investment code? We have a basis.
The talk around energy transition means leaving fossil fuels in the ground. That's one of them. So such a huge project is ideally a controversy to what the EU is trying to do. But what is unrealistic or what is unjustifiable is the fact that as Uganda and as the African continent, we are being inserted into this whole discussion around energy transition, yet we still have a huge gap of trying to address our development aspirations. One of those being the fact that we have to exploit our resources to be able to generate revenue that can be redistributed to our economies so as to improve on our livelihoods. We see that this particular project is offering about 160,000 jobs to Ugandans. And lastly, to ensure that the policies, because the policies are the drivers, to ensure that the policies are reviewed. Because like I told you earlier, our policies have gaps. And because of those gaps, we've seen corporations exploiting them to, not adhere to the human rights standards or human rights, or to protect the livelihoods of the people that are involved within those investment schemes. So I think it is a big call that we could put out there that we really need to review our investment code. That is a call that Siatini has had over time to ensure that the gaps on human rights are really addressed.
Members of Parliament also had a thing or two to say about this. Lawyers in Uganda say European Union's resolution on EACOP is unworthy and malicious.
I don't think the EU Parliament can stop the EACOP because it is already done. They should have stopped before those agreements were done. What Total can do, if EU stops Total, it's Total who is the biggest loser. It will pay the government of Uganda heavily and will disorganize the company. They even know it. I know Total is under French it's a French company, which is under EU, but they cannot take such a mistake. Of course, they know what repercussions of the business have happened.
So by the time they made the contract, I think if EA was required, then it would have been a witness to the agreement. But they are not part of the agreement. I think they don't have a supervisory role, so they should actually just leave the thing to take course. If they have any interest, then they can actually make it known, so that as a country, the government can actually look into considering them for inclusion on an aspect. For example, the number of things that EU can do under the polluter pays agreement, they can actually maybe come and help us with the environment issues. They can come and help us with the marketing. They can come and help us with exploring other minerals so that the potential of the country is realized.
Rona Nahabwe, Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
Okay, now let's talk about this new rental tax policy, which is a threat to the real estate sector. While continuing to be a significant source of revenue for the government, rental tax also continues to pose a threat to the expansion of the real estate industry. Within the fiscal year 2022-2023, the government anticipates receiving at least 145 billion shillings in rental tax revenue in the Kampala metropolitan area. Let's have more of this report.
Rental tax is the tax applicable to an individual for purposes of rental income. This applies to building owners and generally used in real estate.
Rental income tax, where you own say, houses or land that you let out to other people to do business. So when you own such and then you pay at the end of the year for the income that you have earned out of that house, you are actually paying taxes directly.
Speaking to Thaddeus Musoke Nagenda, acting chairperson Kasita, he underscored that the new rental income tax policy on buildings has led to increase in rent by landlords in order to generate the tax target made by URA. This is done by tracking the name and TIN number of landlords in order to monitor performance of landlords and avoid cheating, thus generating the tax target of URA.
The impact of the new rental tax regime, already we may feel it, we as the business community, because it was discovered that some landlords were not complying. So because URA has invested heavily to make sure that the levels of compliance improve, the fact is that the rental tax may improve this year. But we are just worried that our landlords may increase rent because currently some of them, by the way, are being forced to register for VAT, and some are charging the VAT to tenants, which is wrong because the VAT obligation is supposed to be fulfilled and met by the landlord. And then URA has gone further to request for the tenants, when we are submitting our returns, to include the name and the TIN number of the landlord in order to track the compliance level of the landlord. So the same applies to the tenants. Currently, to the landlords, currently they are correcting TIN numbers for their tenants in order to justify what is being paid.
However, a section of Ugandans say that this policy may affect the development of real estate sector because of its unfairness to traders in terms of generating money and profits.
So it's not okay, but given the fact that now we have a real way of participating in the budget process, we are hoping to see, can the government adjust? Can the government, if the compliance level has improved, why should then the regime overtax the members? So we need a fair tax policy where it can attract more people to comply, and then we avoid, we avoid beating around the bush, not to pay taxes.
Government expects to collect shillings 145 billion in rental tax within Kampala. This is going to be the highest they have ever collected. But did you know an individual contributes 12% and a company contributes 30%? Martha Nimsima, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now away from that, we look at the performance of Uganda and Rwanda trade. Exports are one of Uganda's main sources of income, and these bring in billions of dollars and fostering economic growth. As the economists explain, there has been a continuous improvement in Uganda's trade performance ever since Rwanda reopened her border with Uganda. Let's have more of this report.
Basing on export data report from the Ministry of Finance indicates the sharp drop in the value of exports from Uganda that has persisted. Economists have today analyzed the impact of the reopening of borders.
Has a cyclic effect. When things are down doesn't mean you lose hope. Actually, when they're down, that's when you now become even more strategic. So with the opening up now, I think people need to recompose themselves and pay attention to what is happening because the opportunity is there.
That when we contacted our comrades, they're enjoying the benefits of border reopening, and the volumes have greatly increased, because at first we thought with the improvement of Tanzania's infrastructure, it could affect our transit volumes in Uganda. But because of the speed at Mombasa, trade has totally harmonized, and the traders are benefiting from this development.
According to the data from the Uganda Export Promotions Board, the average monthly exports to Rwanda ever since it opened has improved from January to July 2022, but not as it was in the previous years, and the set trend is giving hope to revamp the export revenue.
If you look at January 2022 to July 2022, we have made an average of $0.86 million. But what is interesting to note is in July, which is the beginning of this financial year, exports moved from $0.34 million in June 2022 to $5.22 million in July 2022. Now, that is a big jump, which is good, but not to the level at which we were previously operating. So there's hope that this trend, which has begun in July, will continue increasing.
Economists also mentioned about the reopening as a big opportunity to the business sector and urged Ugandans and the government at large to make use of it.
So with this is a great initiative. This is a great opportunity which we need to tap in as urgent as possible, because Rwanda, yes, it's our trade partner. Yes, also now we had got also another alternative of Congo, because the population is higher than Rwanda. But given the fact that Rwanda, Burundi, you can via Rwanda even to Burundi, I think for the business community we have to just utilize all the available opportunities.
Exports is one of Uganda's source of revenue, and ever since Rwanda reopened its borders with Uganda, trade is moving on smoothly, which has boosted traders' hope for betterness. Desire Nambiro, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now at Victoria University, there is a students' loan scheme, and it's where we're heading to now. Uganda's newly chartered university, that is Victoria, has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Higher Education Students Financing Board. This is a body under the Education Ministry, which was instituted by law to offer Uganda students aid to attain their academic dreams by extending them affordable loans to cover their academic journey. We have more of this report.
On behalf of Victoria University, let's clap for them once again. And the handshake means a real shake for our tuition. Let's clap again, that handshake.
The loan scheme was launched by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in 2014, started with 12,001 beneficiaries, and currently increased to over 100,041 beneficiaries. These have pursued over 130 degree programs and 76 undergraduate diploma courses, mainly in science, technology, engineering, and math. Uganda's newly chartered Victoria University has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Higher Education Students Financing Board. The students' loan is only for students enrolled in selected universities and tertiary institutions.
All right, now they are showing they've finished signing.
Wanyama Michael, the executive director of the board, indicated that the board is helping to secure academic financing for students who are not only fully capacitated to incur their academic dues. He further revealed that for 8 years, the board has so far helped over 12,780 students.
that are being accommodated in these universities have now increased, but the rate at which many of them are failing to complete studies are also increasing. And that's when the government came in and said, look here, how do we support the numbers attaining higher education? So that's one of our objectives, increasing access to higher education, both technical and otherwise. Then two, we also want to support critical programs that can spur economic development in this country. And of course, when you read the relevant literature around, some of you who are very good at researching and you've been able to read the National Development Plan of this country, it does mention some of those programs where we still have a human resource gap, but they are very necessary in terms of spurring economic development. And most of these lie in science programs. And then now 13, inclusive of Victoria, and to date, we have awarded the loans to a total of 12,780 students.
Dr. Lawrence Muganga, the Vice Chancellor of Victoria University, expressed sincere gratitude for Higher Education Students Financing Board's interest in taking on their students to benefit from the scheme. Below the guidelines on how this loan scheme can be accessed.
Know that there is no need to have any further excuses. That maybe you can't even afford the affordable tuition. If you can't afford affordable tuition, then there is a financing agency to rescue your dream. So they are here. And we will talk about that more. But honestly, if you look around, most universities in this country charge times 2 or times 3 of what we charge. So I don't expect any of you to really fail to raise the tuition that we charge. And if you fail, and if there is that huge need, then there is the Higher Education Students Financing Board that will step in to support your desire, your dream.
For you to access it, number one, you need no security. It's not like the commercial loans where you need security. The second bit is that you don't need guarantors. We had a case of a student where the parents or the parents were stopping her from applying. And yet she has not been at school since 2018. And the parents thought that the loan scheme will come for their land. No security, no guarantors.
It is important to note that the students' loan scheme is a cost-sharing arrangement where the loan only covers the academic component of a student's needs, for example, tuition fees, functional fees, and research fees, among others. The student loan scheme was launched in 2014 by His Excellency, the President of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to enable every Ugandan in tertiary institution to be able to acquire employable skills. This is in line to achieving the National Development Plan 3 Vision 2040. Naomi Mtumba, Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
All right, now let's talk transportation, but in particular, the railway transport. Trade is made easier for cargo transportation due to Central Corridor between Tanzania and Uganda. To move cargo, Central Corridor spent $300,000 on wagons. Now, Tanzania's President, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, signed a contract recently for the construction of a standard gauge railway from Ishaka to Tabora, which will be connected to Mwanza and from which Uganda will commence from the Ministry of Transport. Now, the Minister of Transport for Uganda, Fred Byamukama, appeals for port support to prevent the need for road reconstruction in East Africa.
Delegates from Uganda visited the Central Corridor to assess the progress of the standard gauge railway in Tanzania. The State Minister for Transport, Fred Byamukama, has assured Ugandans that once the standard gauge rail line from Ishaka, Tabora to Mwanza is complete, Uganda will pick goods and services from Marine to Port Bell, and the business strategies will be enhanced.
It's the way to go. Yes, we have meter gauge railway, but SGR, it carries a lot of cargo. It is faster. And if you see, Tanzania has done it, Kenya has done it. Even they have done it, even Uganda is the way to go. I must appreciate the government of Tanzania so far for the milestone taken. We are here around the November of last year, but since November up to now, a lot of achievement has been added on.
Smart24 TV, where in Tanzania, was able to have an interaction with the Executive Director Uganda Railway Corporation, Stanley Sendegeya, and extended great attitude to the Central Corridor for supporting East Africa, most especially Uganda.
Aside the development of SGR is moving on. We are looking for financing. Most of the things are done. The payment for the right of way, paying the project affected person is ongoing, is over 50% complete. The corridor is clearly demarcated and gazetted. The only issue is the financing, which is getting to conclusion. And hopefully in less than a year or a year, we'll be starting actual work on the standard gauge railway, the phase 1.
He also reviews that they are working on a number of wagons to put on the Central Corridor.
Actually has released to us $300,000, which we are working on a number of wagons to be put on this corridor to serve our clients better. We also have in the next year about $2 million still to work on more wagons. So you can see how important this relationship is. This money they are giving the URC is grants from the corridor to facilitate, to ensure there is improvement and the capacity of the system is improved. So we're going to put in place more tanker wagons for movement of fuel and also flatbed wagons for movement of containers. So we're working closely together with systems here, and we do appreciate so much this gesture we are getting. And on our side also we offer a lot of things. We do cooperate, and it's really for the benefit of mutual clients. Uganda is a big market for Tanzania, and Tanzania also is a facilitator because they have this port of Dar es Salaam. They facilitate our enterprise on this side, but also provide the market for whatever is coming from this side.
Samuel Kiremunda, reporting for Smart24 TV in Tanzania.
And that particular one takes us to a break. We will return with more from Business Today. Stick around.